Hi everyone, this is Ricky with scrapbookpal.com, and I'm here to share a project I made using several Lawn Fawn items from their website. One thing I love about scrapbookpal.com is they have free shipping over $25, and they also ship most orders out the same day as long as you order before 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Head on over to scrapbookpal.com and fill up your basket. Now let's get started with some of the products we'll use today. One of the first items we're going to be using is the Stitch Pumpkin Frame by Lawn Fawn. We're also going to be using the Quilted Backdrop from Lawn Fawn as well. This is a cover die. We'll be using a sentiment from the Lawn Fawn Forest Feast. We'll be using the Happy and Thanksgiving. We're going to be using a piece of black cardstock. We're also going to be using 2 pieces of paper from the Fall Fling Petite paper pack as well for this project. There's an orange and there's a green with leaves. We're also going to be using just regular white cardstock. This is 80-pound Nina cardstock. And lastly, this is Fake Tan by Lawn Fawn. I wrote that on the back just so that I can remember the name and I could put away any scraps that I may need. Okay, and here we go. So the first thing we're going to do is cut out this stitched pumpkin out of the Fake Tan Lawn Fawn orange cardstock. We're also going to cut out the stem of the pumpkin out of this Lawn Fawn paper that's just pretty much leaves. I decided to go with green. And then we're also going to cut out the pumpkin again in this pattern paper because we're going to use what's in the center along with the rest of the card. The next thing we're going to do is actually cut out this backdrop. I'm going to put this through the die cutting machine as we normally do. And then once I get that out, what I'll need to do is take this pokey tool, or you could pretty much use anything to get that out. And as you can see, there's a bunch of dots that still have not been removed. So you're going to just poke all of those out. I'm not going to show you on this video how I did that. And then I'm going to take some of this gold DMC thread, and I'm going to thread this through the holes of this panel. I'm not going to do the whole thing, and here I'm going to show you what it looks like. And then also I go all the way around the perimeter, and then on the inside I do every other line horizontal. And so the final of this is what this is. Sorry the lighting isn't great, but I think you could see the general idea of how this goes. The next thing we're going to do is build the pumpkin. Now I want to put this on a background because I'm going to be doing some paper piecing with the pieces of the orange Lawn Fawn pattern paper. And in order to do this and for it to have a backing, I'm just going to glue this onto the back of a white piece of paper. This could pretty much be printer paper. This is a little bit thicker than printer paper, and that's what I used. It's just going to be the backing. And then all we're going to do is actually glue the pieces into place. And I'm going to continue to add more pieces here, and I wanted to keep this in because oftentimes you'll see videos of where there's no mess ups. It's just like perfectly straight card and the card's perfect. Well, I didn't do that here. As you can see, there's a piece that it actually doesn't match up because it needed to go on the other side. Thank goodness I used some liquid adhesive, and here I am just going to apply that back to the back of that paper and then put it in the correct position. So once we're done with that, we are actually going to cut this out of the white paper. And what you could do is just take your scissors and run it under the orange just a tad bit to make sure that none of the white shows. Now I've sped this up, I think 4 to 8 times faster than I actually cut this, but it doesn't take that long to actually cut all this out. And then once you're completed and you just got the few last little white pieces there, you're complete and we can start getting ready to put the card together. So now I'm just going to glue the pumpkin onto the cardstock, but before that I'm going to put the stem on. Then here I'm going to play around a little bit to see where I want to place the pumpkin. I'm going to glue it up, and then I'm going to stick it here on the card base. I'm going to try to make it as even as possible, trying to see or measure the distance with the threads that I've sewn into this card panel. I think I've got it in a pretty good position, and just playing around with it a little more, and I'm just going to press that down really good to make sure that it's sticking. I also put the plates on top of the panel so it adds a little weight to the pumpkin and the cardstock so that it sticks together. Now what I'm doing is just getting ready so that I could start heat embossing our black panel. This is a powder tool that I use that I just put a clip on, and what that does is removes the static from the paper so that the embossing powder does not stick to the cardstock. Here I'm going to be using the Happy and the Fall from this stamp set from Lawn Fawn so that I could go ahead and get this stamped out and heat embossed. So we're going to go ahead and get this stamped out. This is sped up a little bit so you don't have to watch me go over this. I'm going to get my coffee filter and I'm going to pour some gold heat embossing over this. And then just pour that over twice to make sure that it's all covered. I'm going to put away my heat embossing or my powder, and then I'm going to start heat embossing. Now this is sped up like 8 times as fast, so it takes longer than what you're actually seeing. But I love heat embossing. I'm not for sure why. I think it's like kind of magical and it looks cool every time that you do it. It's not something that I really get tired of. So I really like that. The next thing we're going to do is actually go ahead and cut out these sentiments. I just have this banner die that's in my stash. You could probably get one of these over at scrapbookpal.com. I think maybe Lawn Fawn does have these. So yeah, just check out their website and you'll be able to see what exactly they have. You could also do this with a trimmer. I just chose to do it with the die cut just because it's easier. Before we get started putting the card together, I just want to make sure to tell you that it's important that you clean off your stamps. I use this Lawn Fawn stamp chamois to actually do that. All you have to do is get it wet, wipe off your stamp, and put it away. You'll want to make sure it's in a container that is not completely airtight, because if so, then it could start smelling a little like mildew. The next thing I'm going to do is be brave and actually try to cut these in a straight line so that they looked normal. And I was very successful, but you could also use a paper trimmer for this if you're not very good at cutting straight lines, which sometimes I'm not, and I have to be honest about that because sometimes I have to do this several times. Now we are going to put the card base on 110 pound Nina cardstock, but before we do that, we're actually going to put a lot of 3M foam tape on this panel to pop it off of the card. And basically I just take a long strip of this and I cut it in half, and then what I'll do is I'll place it onto the card. So I have all the 3M foam tape going diagonal on the card, and then what I'm going to do is just use a plain white piece of cardstock, and I'm just going to put this on the back of this card. You could have skipped this step and just placed it onto the card base for the card, but I was a little nervous because of the tape. So I decided to put that on the back and then add some liquid glue and then put it on the back of the card. Now this is going to be a thick card and it may cost a little extra to send through the mail, or it might be something that you could just hand deliver to a person. I'm going to put some 3M foam tape on the back of the sentiments, but I'm also going to pull out my T-roller just to make sure that everything is straight. This is the end of my project and I really appreciate you watching. Be sure to keep an eye out for some great projects by my fellow design team members. Thank you and have a great day. You can find me on Instagram by searching for Romero Cards. Bye!